Good afternoon, everybody. You guys are all coming into the meeting on mute, so any responses, you'll have to unmute your microphone for me, okay? What do we got? A couple minutes after 3. Looks like we probably got everybody that's going to come to this session. So I want to get started here. I'm not going to take up a lot of time this afternoon since it's a preliminary meeting. I know that some of you quite possibly will drop the course for this session and pick it up again in the fall, so that's fine. What I want to do is share my screen with you and show you a few things this afternoon, and then we can move forward with the regularly scheduled program. Okay, so this is Cinematography 1. Can you guys hear me okay? Just give me a thumbs up if everything's good. Okay, good. This is Cinematography 1, and I know that some of you may have signed up for the course initially expecting it to be a face-to-face class. But unfortunately, due to an accident that I had in mid-April, we didn't think that I would be quite ready to do any kind of face-to-face presentation for the summer session. So we switched it to online. So I apologize for that. If you prefer the face-to-face experience, I believe there will be a Cinematography 1 session available in the fall. You could certainly look to take that course in lieu of this online session. This session is only a 6-week summer A session, which makes it a fairly dense amount of material to get through in 6 weeks. Ordinarily, we have a full semester to get this sort of work accomplished, which means that under ordinary circumstances, this course is a bit of a challenge. So given that it's only half the allotted time for the summer A session, if that is at all disconcerting to you, you may also consider re-enrolling in the fall session for the full 16-week experience. Okay, having said that, I just want to show you around the course in Webcourses. Just touch on the syllabus. I don't want to put you through a big dry discussion about that. It's fairly boilerplate. But I just want to show you how everything is structured at this point so you can get a sense of what we have going on here. So your opening page, your home page is going to have some navigation, which will get you to different parts of the module section. No big deal, really. But I just wanted to show you, for instance, the syllabus. So we are meeting, the face-to-face session would have been a Tuesday, Thursday meetup at the Nicholson building. Since we're now online, we're technically asynchronous, which means you can kind of do this course at your leisure. But what I did is I maintained the Tuesday, Thursday window for the live Zoom sessions, okay? Now, let me talk to you about the live Zoom sessions, and I want to get this conversation out of the way right off the bat, okay? In these meetups for these bi-weekly sessions, I don't think it would be a productive use of our time for me to give a 3-hour Zoom session. I don't think anybody wants to sit through 3 hours of me discussing cinematography on any level. And I think what can happen is you can access the recorded lectures online that I have available for you. That I took them last summer. Some of them I have added an additional conversation that took place this past spring in Cinematography 1. And you may have the luxury of those 2 pre-recorded discussions in the module section under each topic, under each section. Okay, so that's the material for the course with the the lecture component. You can get by with just that if you have a job conflict. I had a couple of people already that said they would have Thursday conflicts or Tuesday conflicts, and so they can't make it to all of the live sessions. How I want to deal with the live sessions is I would like to have that be more Q&A and have that be a little bit more focused on, say, the most salient topic from each section, okay? Which means you're going to want to look at those video lectures at some point in their entirety to get the entire focus of each section, okay? So that's where your attendance participation grade will come into play, okay? Each week, you can come to the live session if you want, and then of course you'll get your attendance based on that, or just go to the recorded lecture, watch it, and then participate in web courses with the assignments or the modules. There's some reading in web courses and there's some textbook assignments. And that will get you through. So if you do nothing but watch the pre-recorded videos, each week, there's 2 of them, okay? A Tuesday and a Thursday, but I open everything on Monday morning, okay? So you can sort of do this at your own pace. All right, go in, watch the videos, and just give me a little text response on what the salient information was from that video. Okay, what were the most important points from the video? I don't know, 3-4 sentences in a text response in web courses, and that's it. That will constitute your participation grade, your attendance grade. If you come to these sessions, hopefully what you'll have done is you'll have watched at least the initial Tuesday morning video first, and come here with questions, come here with feedback, or come here to participate in discussions that will evolve around the most important point from that Tuesday lecture. And then I'll do the same thing on Thursday, okay? So I would recommend taking a look at the videos ahead of time and then coming to these live sessions if you like that sort of thing, to have Q&A and to have further discussion, okay? The live sessions won't be mandatory then in that case, okay? What'll be mandatory is watch the videos each week, give me the little text box blurb, okay, and submit it in web courses, because it is, the videos, you notice, are listed as assignments. If I go to the modules page here and just show you how this is sort of structured. For instance, this today, I'm just going to do the basic, intro discussion for you. But for instance, here's section 1.1 video lecture. Okay, it says May 22nd. So that is, that should be Sunday of this week. Let me just check my calendar to make sure that that's true. Yeah, see how May 22nd is Sunday of this, at the end of this week or beginning of next week. Okay, that means as an assignment, what you should do is go in, if you weren't coming to the live session, okay, or even if you do come to the live session, go to section 1.1 video lecture, check out the discussion, watch the video, and then just give me the blurb and submit it by 11:59 on Sunday night, okay? Then I get a little, in the grade book, I get a little indicator that you've done the assignment, and I'll just go through and give you the attendance grade as accordingly, okay? That's all you have to do. That's why there's dates here under the video lectures. It is technically an assignment, but there's no points at stake here. All it is a way for me to account for the fact that you have or have not watched the video, okay? And that is, again, your attendance grade. Okay, so each week, we're going to do 2 of these modules, except for the first 2 weeks of the course. If I go to the, let's see, I have the outline I think I had here. I don't. Let me go to the front page here really quick. And, or no, I can do it this way. I'll go to course outline. Okay, so the introduction and what is cinematography. We're going to do these things today. That means that Thursday, we will talk about the camera department positions and responsibilities, and we'll talk about media storage on Thursday, okay? After that, each week we'll do like module 5 and 6 are for week 3. If I go back to my calendar here, I'll show you how I got this laid out. Okay, so here's today. The beginning of summer A was technically yesterday on Monday. Okay, so today I'm having a live session. We'll cover section 1.1 and 1.0. Then on Thursday, I'm going to cover 1.2 and 1.3 with you guys. Okay, just because those are short modules and they don't generally take very long in a regular course situation. So I can get those all out of the way pretty quick, right? But then after that, each week we'll do one module on Tuesday and one on Thursday. So here's technically week 2, we'll do section 1.4 and 1.5. Week 3, we'll do section 1.6 and 1.7, and so on. Okay. So just remember the first week here, today and Thursday, I'll be doing double the sessions, okay, because they're short. Okay. And then after that, it'll be one section each time, twice a week. Okay. And that'll get us through to the end of the semester, which is on the 20, technically the last class is the 25th. I don't know why they say that because we never have Saturday classes, but technically classes are over according to the UCF summer schedule on June 25th. Your final assignments will be due at 11:59 p.m. on the 26th. There will be one virtual assignment. It's called a lighting assignment, but it's really just a virtual exercise. And then you'll have a final quiz that you can take. I'll open it on the 20th of June for you. And then you'll have that whole week to, work on the final. You don't get to have it open for the whole week. You'll have 1 week to access it. Okay. So it'll open on the 20th and you'll have until the 26th to open it up, do a number of multiple choice questions and then submit. Okay. But you won't be able to leave it open for a week. So don't make that mistake. Okay. Sometimes folks open up the midterm quiz or the final quiz and they think they can leave it open. It will be timed. It'll have, I believe it's a 90-minute for the final timed window. Okay. So from the moment you open it, you'll have an hour and a half to answer all the questions and then that's it. It closes and it's done. Okay. So if you don't finish the entire quiz in that amount of time, whatever questions remain unanswered will not get credited. Okay. So don't open it up thinking you can have it open all week. Okay. It's only open for a 90-minute window once you've opened the quiz. Same goes for your midterm. The midterm will happen on the week of the 7th. Okay. It's under section 1.8. I think I've opened it on Monday for you. And again, I leave it open for several days. It's, I think, 30 multiple choice questions and, an hour to do it, something like that. Pretty easy quizzes. Don't worry about them. All of the material that you need to take those quizzes, to do the homework assignments and so forth is loaded into Webcourses. So technically you and I don't have to meet at all in these live sessions. If this is not your thing, I know some people really hate Zoom for whatever reason. If that's not your thing, or if you have work or something conflicting with these live sessions, just watch the pre-recorded videos, do the assignments based on the modules, and you'll be fine. Okay. That's why I'm kind of opening things early. Each week on Monday morning at 9 a.m., everything for that week will be available to you. So you can access it all first thing Monday morning. If you want to try and get some stuff out of the way, or if you want to try to get ahead of the workload, you can do that. And I leave everything open all the way to the end of the semester. Okay. And that's not necessarily so that you can turn in a homework assignment 3 weeks late. It's so that you can go back and access anything that you want for study, for reference, for whatever. And you can access the assignment. You could submit additional materials to me or whatever. And you won't be locked out. Okay. But there are due dates on the assignments. Okay, so pay attention to those. Typically, if there's a homework assignment for the week, it'll be due on a Wednesday of the following week. So if I give you a homework assignment, for instance, from section 1.4, it would be due on the 1st. Okay, the class period would take place on the 24th, but the homework assignment will be due the following week on Wednesday. Okay, and that should bear itself out for you on the modules page. Let me see what I've done here. You can see the due dates are listed. You guys know this. They're listed under the assignments. For instance, here's the SD card widget that you'll have to do next week. It's due on June 1st. Okay, it's a Wednesday. All right, and what I've done is I've gone through and I've taken all the due dates and I open stuff, like I said, each week, all the material for that week is open on that Monday. And then they're all available until the end of the course. So you don't get locked out of any particular module or section or assignment, okay? If for some reason, this is a little bit of a tedious process with web courses. As you can see here, I have to go through and enter information in all of these boxes for all of these different things. And sometimes web courses likes to play games with me and change dates back at random after I have adjusted them. So if you catch a problem or a conflict, just shoot me an email, okay? You can do it through the people tab here. You can also do it through my inbox, okay, through web courses. Just let me know there's a discrepancy in a date or something and I can take care of that, okay? I know this is going to be a tight semester, so I don't want this to be, you know, I don't want this course to be a source of additional anxiety for you if you're, you know, jammed for time or whatever. It is a dense course though, unfortunately. And so as a consequence of that, the summer sessions tend to be pretty busy, okay? My inbox is always open. I'll hit refresh every morning and every afternoon, and I'll be looking for communications from folks. If you have a problem with an assignment, if you have a question about an assignment, if you have a question about the schedule, whatever, or if you just wanna reach out to me for whatever reason, do it through web courses, do it through my inbox, and I check this thing at least twice a day. And I'll get back to you with information or response as soon as I can, okay? What can I show you? So the syllabus. So if we go down here and just, well, I've already got it open. So let me come over here. Syllabus, okay. So, all right, section 1. I think this is the only section in summer A. So there is no section 3 this summer, just section 1. Here's my contact information if you need it again. Here's my regular UCF email. Okay, michael.walsh@ucf.edu. You can reach me through that. Just understand that I check the web courses more frequently. So if you do use my regular UCF email box, it may take me a little bit longer time to respond back to you, okay? But I know that sometimes if you want to send me, for instance, I've had students send me scripts or projects to preview for them and to offer them feedback. Sometimes web courses won't allow that material to be attached for whatever reason. Mystery gremlins, if you will. If that's the case, then using the ucf.edu email address would probably be the next best thing. And then you can attach files or documents to that email of virtually any size, okay? I'm not having in-person appointments at UCF on campus this summer unless it is, you know, a unique circumstance. I do have an office upstairs at Nicholson, room 245. I won't be using it over summer A, and I will be giving it over at the end of the summer A session, as this will be my last class at UCF. So I don't anticipate using that office throughout summer A. However, if there's a circumstance where you absolutely need to meet me on campus and I can afford the time or make the appointment, I do have an office in 245, but for the most part, if you need to have a conversation with me outside of the context of these weekly meetups, we can do a Zoom session, you know, a private one, and we can cover your issues and concerns through that venue, which would be the preferred mode of communication at this point, just because I'm not fully mobile yet. And it would be a lot easier to use Zoom if that's possible. What else can I tell you about the syllabus? I have, like I said, with the assignment dates and so forth, I've gone through the whole course and I have tried to find every particular date reference to timescales and make them relevant to the summer A session. If you find a date or find a piece of information though that is, from last semester or from the previous summer, don't be alarmed. Just shoot me an email. Let me know that there's something I need to fix, and I'll go and I'll take care of it for you. Okay. You guys know all this stuff: course description, overview, objectives. Let me talk to you about the required text. Okay, so if you go to the UCF Borders bookstore, there is a textbook on reserve for this class. It is Cinematography, Learning Through Practice by Tanya Hosier. I'll show you a picture of the cover here shortly. You can pick it up through UCF. You can also buy it at Amazon. I think that UCF will allow you to rent it. And you can also rent it through Amazon Books. I don't think it's $13.72 anymore. I think the price went up. That's an older price. But either way, you have access to that textbook. I have looked for a PDF version of it that I could include in the course. There isn't one that I've been able to locate. So you will need to purchase the textbook or perhaps share with another person in class to do the reading assignments. The reading assignments aren't terribly long, but there are a number of them, and you're going to want to have the textbook. Now, the thing of it is, the textbook is very informative. It's well laid out. It's got a lot of valuable information. And I think as such, it makes an excellent addition to your professional library that you may or may not be currently accumulating as a result of your time at UCF or just from independent study. I'm a big advocate in having a lot of materials available to me to do my own reference. Case in point, I'm in front of my own personal library. These are all film and photography books and on various topics and so forth. I'm a huge advocate on the printed page and the information contained in books that sometimes are out of print or just aren't available on the internet. Your cinematography textbook is one of those that I just cannot find a PDF at this point to offer you for reference. So you'll have to obtain that particular text. However, I have given you in the modules section something I call the bookshelf, which is where, Mike? Here it is, your textbook shelf. Okay, it's under resources at the very beginning. And I've given you a number of volumes already. Some of the reading assignments may come from these particular documents. These are all textbooks that have been shared with you through me by the publishers and so forth. For instance, Dave Elkins has written the Camera Assistance Manual and also your Cinematography Glossary, which is also in the startup section. Those are open source and public domain documents, so we are free to use them, and therefore I have put them in PDF form on your bookshelf. And a lot of times, if there's a reading assignment in the module, I'll link to this bookshelf. So all you got to do is click my little reference link on a reading assignment, for instance, and it'll take you right to the book. Let me show you how that works. If I go back to modules, let's find a reading assignment here. Here we go. Section 1.2. Okay, the reading assignment, well, is out of the textbook, which I don't have a link to. But here it says to read chapter 2A, introduction, and pages 18 to 28. Okay, and then if it's any of the other PDFs, you can just click right on it and it'll take you to the book. But in this case, let me see if I can find a reading assignment that's not out of that text. Digital media capture. Yeah, here we go. Okay. In this particular section, I give you a reading assignment out of the Blaine Brown cinematography text. The reading is here and so forth. In this case, the link's not working. Well, in this case, you could go, for instance, back to your bookshelf and just access it that way. So the Blaine Brown book, Cinematography Theory and Practice, is here. If you open it up, you're going to get a window and you can do your reading assignment. Select the table of contents, and then just scroll to the reading assignment based on the pages that I've given you. Webcourses is loading a little slow today, I see. There we go. Okay. So it'll come up, you'll get your table of contents, and then just reference the section that I've asked you to. These are all direct links. So if I ask you to read, I forget what it was. What was the module I asked you to read here? Let's just say, for instance, you're going to go to design principles. Just click on it, and it'll take you right to that section. Webcourses have been running really slow yesterday and today, so it might be a little bit bogged down beginning the summer A session. If it won't cooperate for you like today, because there's so many people trying to access Webcourses right now in this particular moment, you can also download these PDFs from your bookshelf, okay? And you can do it that way. So you could go back to the bookshelf and you can just download it. There's a little download symbol next to each document. Whoops. Just hit that download symbol and you can download the PDF to your laptop. And then you have the book available for, quick reference at any point in time. Okay. What else can I tell you from the syllabus? The optional text are on the bookshelf, final grade. Okay, so there's something like, I think there's actually 10 assignments. One of them is a financial aid assignment, which is due Friday, by the way. So go ahead and there's a question for you in the startup menu of Webcourses in the modules. Just answer the question. You don't have to be right or wrong, just answer it, and it will tick the box for you for your FAFSA participation for this week, okay? If you do it by Friday, that's the due date by the school, then your FAFSA will roll over for you on time. If you answer that financial aid question late, you may get your benefits late from FAFSA, okay? So don't forget to do that, due by Friday. The grades are pretty standard. Every course kind of works the same way. There are no A pluses at UCF. I think you've probably figured that out by now. So A is the highest the highest grade you can get in this course, and it is from 94 to 100. I believe for your BFA, and I think also for your BA, I believe you guys have to maintain a minimum C average, but that's a GPA for the BA, right? So all of your classes in the BA, your cum can't be below a C, okay? I think for the BFA, it's a little bit higher. I think they ask you to maintain a B for the BFA. You might want to look into that with your guidance counselor. So the breakdown for C is 74 to 76 grade point average, okay? Just keep that in mind. I have some folks that, if you know what your GPA is going to be, your cum for all your classes, and you know that you can sustain a C, then, that might be your only concern. For those of you who are concerned with the maintaining your A average or your high B average, breaks down, so forth. Okay. I don't think courses policies have changed in the last couple of semesters. We've kind of gone with relaxed COVID measures at this point. We won't be going to campus, so we won't have to worry about any of that. We will be meeting via Zoom, so you're going to have to make sure that you have your internet service up and running. That's to access Webcourses or to access Zoom. Okay, just remember, according to your student handbook and according to UCF policies and rules and regulations, you are responsible for maintaining your internet access. If you don't have access to the internet, that doesn't constitute grounds for extensions of due dates or access to quizzes that have closed or expired. You have to maintain your internet access, okay? So don't get caught up in that whole problem. There hasn't been anything that I've been aware of recently. But if you're having issues like that, the sooner you reach out and contact me so we can resolve the problem, the better. Don't wait until the evening that an assignment is due or a quiz is due to tell me that you don't have access to the internet or that you're having problems with the material or with web courses or whatever. That's too late. Okay. So if you do have a problem, contact me as soon as possible so that we can resolve that issue. Okay. If you look on the front page, I've got a little technical support link that you can access here, and it'll take you to information and so forth that you might need if you're having problems with online access or web courses or whatever. Okay, so that direct link comes right out of the main page for the class. Okay, it's right down here, technical support. Okay. What else have we got here? This is all fairly standard stuff. I know you folks have probably seen it all 100 times before. So I don't want to waste a whole lot of time for it. I will point out the important dates for you for the semester. Okay, so Summer A started yesterday, Monday at 9 a.m. We are going to meet live bi-weekly, Tuesday and Thursday for, I don't know, maybe an hour, hour and a half, whatever it takes to cover questions and answers and the most important topic from each section. Your recorded lectures, though, are available to you from Monday of each week until the end of the semester. Okay. I don't open them all on Monday of day one of the semester just because it becomes a barrage of information that I don't think you want to get buried under just yet. So I'm opening them up, each week. Whatever's happening that week is open on Monday and it stays open. So week 3, week 1 and week 2 stuff will still be open for you to access if you need to. And then week 3 on Monday opens up completely. So you have all those weeks to look at by Monday of week 3. Okay. And then each week I'm going to open a little bit more information for you. Your drop swap deadline is this Friday. So you need to kind of know if you want to be in this class or not by Friday, and then let them know. Your ad deadline for this class is also Friday of this week. Financial aid confirmation is also Friday this week. Midterm quiz is around May 7th. Withdrawal deadline for this class is June 10th. Okay. And then grade forgiveness is the Saturday before the semester's over, Saturday, June 25th. Okay. Technically, our last class then would be Thursday, the 23rd, which would be our last live session on Zoom. But I will be accessible to you right up until the 26th. But then I have to have grades tabulated and submitted 2 days later, okay, which is generally about how long that it takes me to do a class of this size, okay? And then the course is closed, okay? And as I've told you, this will be my last class at UCF, so I will not be available to you or accessible to you after the 26th, okay? I don't know how long my UCF email will stay open, but that just means that we have to have everything sort of reconciled by June 26th, okay? Meaning all your assignments have to be in, all of your quizzes have to be taken, all of that has to be done so that on Monday morning I can start tabulating and then firing that stuff off by Tuesday afternoon, okay? So let's not get stuck or get caught behind, okay? There are no holidays that are going to affect us necessarily this semester. There is a Memorial Day Monday, the 30th of May, but we're asynchronous, so that shouldn't have any real impact on your experience. I want to point out to you that by the end of the semester, we're going to get jammed up for time, okay? Which is one of the reasons why I'm opening stuff early for all of you. Okay, we're going to get through section, I believe it's 2.3. Yeah, the last week we're doing section 2.2 on that Tuesday. And then that Thursday, which is our last class, we'll be doing composition and shot design. It's a pretty simple section. I don't have an assignment scheduled for it because of the time factor. And there is a 3-point lighting assignment from that Tuesday of the last week of class. But as I said, it's a simple online sort of activity that you take a snapshot of the work that you've done on an app that I'm going to give you and turn that in. It's not a physical shooting assignment and everything. So I felt okay with giving you that assignment in the last week, knowing that it would be pretty easy for you to finish that by the following Sunday. So there is an assignment in the last week, okay, and it will be due on the 26th by midnight, the same deadline as your final quiz. Okay, so I have a couple of things you'll have to do in week 6. Okay, just remember that, and don't let yourself get too jammed up. Okay. So I think that's all I wanted to point out to you in terms of the modules. Okay. Section 1.8 module is called midterm exam. Okay. It's a quiz, not an exam. Don't get alarmed. Okay. The video lecture will be a review lecture then under section 1.8 for the midterm. Okay. Now, since we won't really have a live session that day, you'll just be responsible for taking your midterm quiz. You can watch this video lecture, prepare yourself in that way for taking the midterm quiz, and then just open it up and take it on that Tuesday, preferably. But you could open it as early as that Monday and close it up as, I think, let's take a look here. It says June 12th. Let's take a look on my calendar and see where is 1.8. So 1.8 is the 7th. So yeah, at some point from the 7th to the 12th, you have 60 minutes to open it up and take it. So you just got to make sure that preferably you would take it on this day. I don't see why you couldn't at that point. But like I said, if you do get backed up for some reason and you need to take it on a different day, you can. You can take it as late as Sunday afternoon and click send by Sunday evening. Just don't miss that deadline. Once that deadline passes, I cannot reopen that exam. Okay. So you have to take it on time. You have to take it by the due date. Okay. But you got something like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, almost 6 full days to take it. Okay. So that should be plenty of time. I think it's 30 multiple choice questions. No big deal. Okay. What else can I tell you about this whole deal? The Zoom classes will be, if you open up your Zoom tab, these are all the Zoom sessions for the summer semester. Okay. So you can access the links to each one of these Zoom sessions here. Okay. And then come to Zoom, like you typically would. I think that's about it. I want to go to modules now and take a look at section 1.1 briefly. I think what would be handy if I just go through quickly with you, everything at this point should be published. The entire course is published, and each of these modules are published. If you have a problem with access, again, shoot me an email as soon as you can to let me know what's going on so I can get in and fix it. A lot of times Webcourses does some weird buggy stuff, and for whatever reason, a student or students can't access something. Just let me know and I'll go in and take care of it as quickly as I can. Everything is here, your syllabus, your course outline, okay? Some tips for success in the class, pretty boilerplate stuff. Technical support, I've already showed you. Zoom Essentials is just some tips for using Zoom if you're, kind of new to it for whatever reason. Your textbook shelf, the glossary I haven't showed you. This is pretty handy. If you come across a term that I'm using in a lecture or in a live session or in any of the material on Webcourses, if you open up the glossary, chances are you'll have access to that term and its definitions in this document. Okay. Alphabetical, and it's 174 pages, so it's fairly comprehensive. Okay. But if you do come across a term, if I use something in class that sounds strange to you that you never heard before, and you need clarification, shoot me an email and I will get back to you as soon as I can. Okay. What else have we got under getting started? Resources. Oh, the decks. So I use keynote presentations for my face-to-face classes. A lot of times what I'll do in a Zoom session is I'll still use the keynote as a reference and I'll scroll through it as I'm talking on screen. Depending on how you have your Zoom workspace organized, you may get a nice full view of the keynote presentation I'm making, or you may have little tiles that you have to access. If you have a problem with the keynote presentation and you want to go back and revisit any of the information, in the module section, I have PDF versions of all the decks for the semester listed here. Okay, so if there's a piece of information from a particular keynote presentation and you want to go back and revisit that information, you should be able to find it here. Each week is a deck. So this would be a normal semester with 12 decks for 12 modules, right? So just remember that we're doing a couple a week, right? So week 6 is going to be sections 2.2 and 2.3. Oh, it looks like I need to add 2.3 at this point. Okay, it's not on there. Just take them a pair at a time each week. So you can figure out where we're at, use the titling. It's the same titling from the modules, so it should be easy to cross-reference. And then when you open this thing up, let me just show you. It's oddly, my keynotes have a gray background with a little design and with text and so forth in white and in yellow, okay? When you go to the PDF, they're going to look slightly different, okay? The PDFs are going to be on a white background. And so you'll have to pay close attention to the text and so forth. They are readable, all of the same images, all of the same headings, all the same text is there. It's just a little bit different kind of background, as you can see. It's a little bit washed out. I don't know why that happens. When you export these out of Keynote, they look like this. They don't look as nice and vibrant as the cells that I show you live or online, but all of the information is the same. The cell count is the same, and the order of the cells are all the same as well, okay? It's just slightly different, but it's, as you can see, it's still readable. The important points are usually highlighted in yellow, okay? And you can distinguish all of that, I think, just fine from these PDFs. So that's the only difference between the PDF extractions from my Keynote and the Keynote itself. They will look a little bit different, but they are information-wise and order-wise the same information, okay? So don't be alarmed by that if you have to go and re-access some of this information, okay? What else did I want to point out to you? I have a general discussion board put up here in the resources section. This is something that I do in all of my classes. I've been doing this for a while now. This is to help you guys, usually face-to-face or campus enrolled students don't have a networking or contact issue, but if you're predominantly an online student and you're having difficulty meeting people, especially people in the film program, the general discussion board is here for you to just sort of open up a topic of conversation. I don't generally monitor this page unless I'm asked to, and if I'm invited to a conversation by one of you that's already taking place. But I want this to be your talk space, okay, for anybody in this class. If you want to reach out to your colleagues, if you want to ask for help on a project or show a piece of work that you have been working on the side and you want to share it with your colleagues and so forth, this would be a good place to do it. And so replies and comments and emojis and everything are enabled for this. And so this is your networking space, okay? And again, I won't monitor it unless I'm invited to a particular conversation, okay? I think sometimes you guys want to have the luxury of speaking amongst yourselves and you don't want Professor Walsh's prying eyes and opinions in the conversation, and that's fine. If that's the case, you can do that all right here. It's accessible to you at any point in time, okay? And that's it. I want to talk to you about a couple of initial concepts for the class. But before I do that, I just want to kind of open it up for any questions that any of you might have on anything that I have offered to you up to this point. Anybody confused about anything? Have any questions about anything before I move on to other information? Are we good? Yeah. Okay, good. Good, good, good. Great. Okay. In that case, then, let me open up section 1, see what we have for you. So this is welcome to cinematography, blah, blah, blah. You know how this goes. It's pretty much the same for every class. What I've done for you, though, is I've given you my brief bio here and a link to my IMDb page. If you guys want to see what I've been up to in the course of my career, you can look that up right here. Okay. So one thing that I'll tell you, I don't know if this will open it up nicely or not. Here we go. Okay, good. I'm a retired member of Local 728, which is set lighting technicians in Los Angeles. Okay. The bulk of my career was motion pictures and television. Okay. I've done a handful of high profile commercials and music videos over the course of my career, but it's mostly film and television. Okay. And it goes back to, at least in terms of IMDb, it goes back to about 1990. My resume predates this by about 2 years. I got into the industry in the fall of 1988. So if you want to look at my body of work, this is it. Okay. This is where my opinions stem from. Okay. This is where my knowledge and my mastery of the lighting and cinematic arts comes from. Okay. I am not a recent graduate of any film school. I am not recycling information that was given to me recently. Okay. I invested the better part of 30 years in my career. And then, you know, through necessity, a series of injuries and so forth caused me to sort of reorganize my career structure, decide how I wanted to spend the latter portion of my career. And I chose teaching, or rather, teaching chose me, oddly enough. Um, and so I have been teaching now for about 12 years at several different universities, from here to Los Angeles, okay, including AFI. I have been a guest lecturer at AFI. I was a professional instructor in Culver City at the West LA City College Culver campus. I've taught here at UCF. I have been a guest lecturer at Full Sail. I taught for a number of years at Los Angeles Film School, which is where I learned how to sort of do online instruction and learned how to organize coursework for online consumption. And a couple of other venues, some time at Valencia College here in Orlando and so forth. So I've done a number of different teaching positions over the course of 12 years. And so that's my background. Okay. So even though, what's my point? Even though this is cinematography class, I have a great deal of industry experience. Okay. I've been around the biggest possible budgets you can imagine. Okay. And some of the smallest ones. Okay. And so, with that kind of experience to draw from, I can answer a lot of questions. I think I can be a pretty good mentor to you folks in general. So, a lot of students feel comfortable approaching me for advice in many aspects of working in the film industry. How to get in, you know, what does it take? Who should I talk to? You know, where's my first job going to come from? Things of that nature. While those are not typical topics of the cinematography syllabus that I have arranged for you, they are questions that I'm happy to entertain and answer for you to the best of my ability, and wherever possible, at least point you in the right direction or get you on the right path to accomplish those goals or answer those questions for you. Okay. So even though, if your career aspirations, for instance, don't lie within the camera department or camera operating or even lighting for that matter, it doesn't mean that I might not be able to offer you some useful advice to move in the direction that you're interested in. Like I say, I've worked on a lot of stuff. Oh, I think something around 78 feature films and well over 400 episodes of television. And that's pretty much all at the studio level. Okay. So I've been a part of that world for a very long time. I still have lots of friends that are active in the industry. I see their names roll across the screen all the time on a variety of different films and television shows. So don't hesitate to reach out if you have, some questions or some thoughts or need some advice on a particular topic. I'm happy to offer it for as long as I'm still accessible to you folks here at UCF. Okay. Let's see. Let's keep going here. Let's see what we got. Okay. Uh, I I I'm a big fan of Cook Optics, of their lenses and so forth. I have been working around their products for a very long time. Cook Optics does a really neat thing called Cook Optics TV, and they have a YouTube page and an account with a lot of interesting interviews and videos on particular topics relevant to filmmaking, cinematography specifically. And I have reached out to them, and they have graciously, given me complete freedom to access their videos, present them in class, offer them to you guys. And they're very happy to, be in partnership with us while you go through your journey of discovery here of cinematography. So I will use a lot of their videos to demonstrate points or as part of my discussions, either in my keynotes or in my um, content built into web courses, embedded in web courses. So you're going to see this logo probably quite a bit, and understand that this is a professional um, uh, company, industry wide, broadly accepted, and widely lauded series of lenses. They've been making optics for cinema cameras for well over 100 years. And they have almost legendary status in the community as being products of high value, high quality, and accessibility. Um, I have a couple of videos blocked out for you to take a look at this week. One of them is on being a cinematographer. It's kind of a lyrical, almost a music video in a sense, of this person giving you their point of view on what the craft of cinematography is all about. Check it out. It's interesting, maybe if not a little bit melodramatic, but nevertheless, I think the points are well taken in his explanation of what cinematography and the cinematographer's role can be. There's also a couple of videos here you might find interesting. What makes a cinematic image and what's the role of the cinematographer on a movie set? Okay. Those are the things that I usually offer in my intro class as a sort of a way to whet your appetite for the material that's about to come down the pipe at you. Um, do I have anybody in here that's interested in a career as a camera operator moving forward? Is anybody in here specifically interested in working in the camera department? Or what do you folks do? Or what do you hope to do when you get out of school? Anyone want to offer?
I want to work in the film production industry, specifically like the business section of making sure that everything is funded properly, that things are happening in the proper manner and stuff like that.
Like producer specializing in film finance?
Yes.
That's a good job. That's something that I don't have personally a great deal of experience with, although my entire IMDb resume is a credit to all of those individuals that are out there getting projects funded. Um, Hopefully, you have enough inspiration in the coursework here at UCF to get your questions answered. I think that you're probably planning on maybe moving to a larger production market when you graduate. Is that true?
I'm going to go wherever I can.
There you go. That's the spirit. All you need is that kind of attitude and you're going to be just fine. Go wherever it, do whatever it takes and go wherever is required of you, right? Somebody raised their hand about possibly being a cinematographer. Who is that? Go ahead. Tell us what you got in plan.
That was me. So I've been doing stuff with cameras since I want to say 2016, so around 7 years now. Um, and I've got a production company that we've been working kind of hand in hand with Pure Flix, which is a big Christian production company that has a lot of funds behind them. We're working on producing a like sort of like an hour-long episode type thing they can put on their subscription service or streaming service. Um, but I've just been I love being behind the camera. I love setting lighting and set design and creating an image that makes people feel something.
Great. Terrific. Well, then you're in the right place for this class. So we're going to answer hopefully a bunch of questions that you might have already about the craft of cinematography. Anybody else looking towards looking forward to a career in the camera department after you get out of school? What do you guys want to do then? What are your career goals?
For me, I want to get more into like the editing side, right? Like the behind the scenes, like actually stitching the film together type of thing, right?
Great, great. How's that going for you so far? Are you getting a pretty good are you getting good experience here at UCF?
Yeah, I mean, I just started, so I haven't really like delved too much into it, but I've taken a couple classes, and I liked the editing class that I took in particular. So that's kind of what pushed me towards that direction.
Okay. Well, hopefully there are at least 3 or 4 modules in this course then that are going to probably resonate with you as an aspiring editor. We're going to talk about file sharing. We're going to talk about shooting for the edit in terms of selecting shot sizes and so forth. So I think there'll be enough information for you to sink your teeth into in this class to make it worthwhile for you to learn cinematography, at least on a fundamental level. And then you take that information and it works for you as a cutter later. It's really important. I think I've always been a huge advocate for having my editors on set with me when I'm shooting or directing something. I like to have those folks close at hand so they can help me with shot selection and with scene design, sequence design, and so forth. So I tend to be at least in the scope of people that you'll encounter in terms of a cinematographer. I tend to be very dependent on the editors to to help me choose the best shots and things that are going to cut together well in the final edit. Right? Doesn't do me a whole lot of good to get a bunch of pretty shots strung together that don't really cut into a cohesive sequence. Especially when there are digital effects and things that have to happen to that material upstream from what I'm doing on set at the time. So I'm a big advocate of working closely with the editors from a shooting standpoint. You won't always encounter that out in the field. For some reason, some of these responsibilities tend to get compartmentalized, and we have almost an us and them sort of mentality when it comes to shooting in the moment and composing and recording in camera, and then what happens to that content downstream afterwards tends to be thought of in terms of 2 different sensibilities or 2 different groups of people handling the material. And there is a common thread through all of that, and it is the cinematographer. So hopefully this will be a good class for you as well, even as an editor. Anybody else want to edit? Okay. I'm finding that a fairly common theme. A lot of folks, I guess that's because there's a lot of corporate opportunity when you get out of school for editors and people that can produce content from aggregate and get content out on social media and on company websites and so forth. I don't have a tendency to talk to that sensibility. I have a tendency to speak more in terms of the industry at large. And since my experience comes from features and television, I have a tendency to offer the material from that point of view. And My philosophy is this: if I talk to you about the world at large and the biggest possible picture that there is to comprehend, if that's the world that you want to pursue, then you have had the benefit of that conversation from the word go. If, on the other hand, you don't aspire to work on major features in television, but you have scaled down ambitions, shall we say. Maybe you want to be a corporate filmmaker, or maybe you want to be a documentarian, or you have a small independent feature minded sensibility that you want to serve when you get out of school. I think if you understand how the big picture works, I think you can scale all of your ambitions and your ideas accordingly, right? So I don't speak in terms of what's possible on YouTube. I talk about what's possible in Hollywood, right? And then you can sort of scale it down on your own. You can decide what is appropriate for you and how far you want to take this, because not everybody's ambition is the same. And I've come to realize that over the course of the last 12 years of teaching, is that when I got into my career, I wanted to, I wanted the brass ring, right? I wanted to be making the movies that I myself had paid money and bought tickets to see. And I wanted to be a part of that experience. I wanted to make the movies that people are going to consume on a broad level, at your local Regal, for instance, right? So that was the world that I was after. It wasn't, of course, in 1988, we didn't really have YouTube. We didn't have that whole sort of frontier available to us. So it was more of a traditional career path. But nevertheless, that tends to be where my point of view resides at this point. Although I do consume a lot of YouTube content, and I do that for a number of reasons. Not the least of which is I'm fully aware that you folks have all of these apps and these electronic advantages at your disposal, and you can go on Google and you can go on YouTube and you can look up topics on just about anything, and you can see there's somebody has put a video up there to look at, or somebody's put a video up there with an opinion on a particular topic. And knowing that and understanding that I have to sort of compete with that resource and your accessibility to it, I look at a lot of YouTube videos just to see what's out there and just to see what kind of stories are being told, right? To make sure that if there are sources of bad information, that at least I'm aware of them and I can steer you away, or if there are sources of good information that you can rely on, that I understand to be truthful and effective from my experience, I can send you in those directions as well. So I do a lot of, if you will, vetting of content on YouTube, just to make sure that whenever I recommend a video for you to watch, or if I, recommend a website, or if anybody expresses information regarding a website, that I'm kind of aware of it and I know what's going on. And if there's a problem, we can head that problem off. I know there's a lot of information out there on YouTube, and it's not all correct. It's not all reliable information. So part of my YouTube presence is to sort of just maintain a watchful eye. But I also, and I can show you guys just real quick, I have links to content on my own YouTube channel. It's not a big deal. It's not something that I do for money or a side gig or anything like that. What it is my coursework and things, lectures that I've given, and they are on my YouTube account. Whenever I give you a pre-recorded lecture for any one of the sections in cinematography, one or two for that matter, when you access that link, it's taking you basically to this page. Okay. And so there are dozens, if not at this point, maybe hundreds of videos on previous lectures, on all of the topics from my courses, some stuff that's not included in my courses. All right. So all of this information is accessible to you, not just the direct links of the video lectures that I've given you on Webcourses. Okay. So this is the other reason why I'm on YouTube a lot, is to upload my lectures and conversations from previous classes. And then you can get the benefit of those conversations. You can hear those students asking questions. You can hear, variations on themes that are recurring, especially out of the syllabus. Certain classes, I'll answer a question a certain way about a particular topic. And that might be different than the way I've addressed it in other cinematography classes or maybe in your class. So sometimes there will be the same lecture, it might be a year or two old, of the same topic, and you'll find that maybe alongside the one you're accessing currently, and you can check that out and see if there's any additional information there for you to sort of extract out of it. Okay. But this is a resource that I make available to you. It's always up there. It's been up for several years now. The only thing I've done in the past 2 years, I think, is I finally took out content from Los Angeles Film School because it was not as in-depth as the material that's in there now. But aside from that, you've got quite a bit of information here to access if you need to. And it's all available to you pretty much anytime you need it. Okay. Okay. So if I asked you then, I don't know if we've really exhausted the conversation about career aspirations, but if I were to ask you what you, what's your idea of a cinematic image, for instance? When we describe, because these terms are thrown around a lot, and I think that sometimes people are haven't really thought it through. But if I asked you, what's the difference between a normal YouTube video and a video that's been produced cinematically? What would your answer be to that question?
A decent budget.
A decent budget, maybe. There's certainly decent budgets when we're working cinematically, although not always. I think it all depends. I think the modern micro budget film industry, the micro budget independent film industry in particular, with the film festival sort of venue as an outlet, has shown us that budget isn't always conducive to quality or to good storytelling. So there are some exceptions to that point of view, but I think having a decent budget is certainly something that will allow for cinematic quality in the rendering, provided that you have folks that are capable of producing that sort of look or that sort of feel in an image. But if you had to think about specific qualities in an image that you would refer to as cinematic, what would those qualities be, perhaps?
I feel like good planning is the biggest thing. Is, do you plan out your scenes properly? Do you know what actor is doing what? Like, everything comes down to just planning, because if you don't plan, then how are you going to have it be, look good?
Well, certainly planning is going to provide for or allot the resources, time, and finances necessary for cinematic creation of images. But it still can be somewhat separate from the visual aspects of a cinematic image, right? So if we take budget and planning for granted, and say we have those provisions sort of locked in, if we were just thinking about the visual impact of a video, for instance, what qualities would that visual image possess that you would associate with cinematic?
I guess if we're speaking like in a pure sense, competent camera work, actual good color correction of when I say budget, I think I was mostly referring to having the actual tools to work with an image and actually make it look good. I mean, you said compared to the regular YouTube video, I sometimes dabble in YouTube just to work on editing because I like editing. It's actually a decent hobby, and hilariously enough, I've actually gotten pretty good. 700 subs and growing. But the point is, I wish I had the time or the money so I could spend more time working on it so it would look better, but I don't have that. So when I had to think of an actual image that would look good, I'd say the budget to have a better camera, the budget to have a better crane so I could shoot more shots, the budget to have more equipment to better color correct and do that. I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
Okay, I'm teasing an answer out of you now, I guess. So you've hit on a couple aspects of it. So color correction is certainly a part of the finishing process of the cinematic image for sure. Okay. The notion that we would somehow release visuals out into the public domain that weren't completely refined or polished to the best of our ability, to me would be an indication of whether or not that creator had a cinematic impact in mind when they produced that content. So, like for instance, my lectures that are on YouTube. I mean, I'll throw a light up to make sure that I'm properly, lit and exposed for the, even for my little onboard camera, right? But it's not the same approach to the work that I would take if I was on a feature film, for instance, right? So there's a lot of good looking stuff out there on YouTube, and then there's a lot of stuff out there that doesn't look like the image quality was a primary concern to that particular creator. Okay, so color correction would be one of those things. I think that if you embark on an aggressive color correction strategy, you are definitely trying to refine that image to the point where it has a uniqueness that an average video on YouTube doesn't possess. And I think that when we're thinking about what those qualities in that image would be quality lighting, lighting that has maybe theme or messaging associated with it. In other words, I talk a lot about the nonverbal communicative power and quality of good cinematic lighting. If you light a character in a certain way, you can actually convey themes or ideas to the audience without having to say anything. Just show them the visual and let their emotional response sort of elicit the 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 appropriate context of that image. Like if you light a character in a horror movie, you're going to light that character very differently than you would light that character in a comedy, for instance, right? So color correction, lighting, you mentioned camera work, and I'm going to say specifically camera movement is a unique aspect of cinematic video or film that's not always demonstrated in other video content. The fact that the camera, if you have conversations in other classes about, say, like Dogma 95, or if you're talking about traditional cinematic attributes of modern film and television, camera movement is really high on the list of unique qualities that demonstrate purposeful storytelling through the way we move that camera, the way we move that lens, specifically the lens being associated with the point of view of the audience, right? So when you move a camera in a certain way, you're involving yourself directly with the audience experience, with that diegetic, if you will, and that camera movement is inducing an emotional reaction or allowing for a certain point of view to develop in the presentation of that information. Like when we zoom into somebody or when we dolly and we push into somebody into an extreme close-up as a point of emphasis for a piece of dialogue that's just been received, and that particular push in is a signal to the audience to receive that information in a certain kind of way, right? A sense of urgency, perhaps, or a sense of irony, or a sense of overwhelming realization when the camera starts from a wider frame and moves to a tighter frame and really centers in on that subject and shows us a more intimate performance at close range as a result of that translation of shifting the camera's point of view from a wider field of view to a closer field of view. Okay, these are cinematic aspects of the image. These are the things that I associate with cinematography and cinematic images, and a lot of these things are absent from run-of-the-mill video, right? So camera movement and purposeful quality lighting. Although I am seeing a lot of these YouTube channels are starting to pop up, and they're looking pretty good, because lighting tools, for instance, that used to be incredibly expensive years ago, and fairly hard to access if you weren't in the industry, have now become readily accessible because of Amazon and B&H, and even local rental houses are becoming more and more prolific in virtually every city across the country. Once upon a time, equipment rental houses for professionals were few and far between, and they were sprinkled very sparsely across the country in major cities only. Now it seems like, virtually any city you go to, there's a place where you can go and rent lights or equipment or buy expendables for video shoots. So accessibility has improved greatly in the last, say, 10 years, to give us access to tools and supplies that will help with the improved look of the lighting in the video image. Not to mention the breakthroughs in technology that the camera companies have offered us in terms of new and exciting camera products to use. The RED cameras, for instance, and the not small HD, but the Z cameras, and the Black Magic cameras, which are my favorite in particular. These cameras now possess incredible rendering capability that only a few years ago would have been, the dream of the prosumer manufacturing base, to produce a camera that could give a user an image that looked like it came out of an Arri Alexa, $50,000-$60,000 cinema camera for, the cost of, several hundred to a couple $1,000s. That whole sort of explosion of marketing and manufacturing prowess at this point has given us tools that are cheap and accessible, that can guarantee a certain level of quality in our videos as well. But still, the mindful application of those tools is what I'm after. I'm talking about, picking out of all of the cameras you could choose to shoot with, for instance, there's going to be a few, or maybe a small number of cameras that would tick enough boxes for you, and the creation of your own content, um, to determine whether or not those images would be truly cinematic or simply reportage or documentary style images that tend to be unrefined through necessity. So we have a lot of advantages now that have come down the pipe in the last, say, 6 to 8 years, which for very little money and access have guaranteed us a high level of quality in our images. But I would encourage you throughout the semester, each time I sort of introduce you to a new concept and talk about it with you, think about that information in terms of the creation of cinematic images specifically. Okay. So I'm going to talk to you about cameras and the types of cameras you might choose to work with, and recording media and lighting and composition and framing and all of those things. And each time we take on a bigger chunk of the conversation, what is a cinematic image? Think about those specific modules as contributing to the overarching idea of high quality, purposeful lighting and camera work that create a cinematic sensibility in all the images that you're producing. Okay, something above and beyond merely pointing the camera at something and pressing the record button and hoping you get something that looks good, right? The idea of a cinematographer then is somebody who has all of these sort of aesthetic criteria in mind when they're producing images, and then picks their tools specifically to suit that end, and then uses a practice, a mode of operation, a workflow that will allow for purposeful and high quality rendering of video images. And they do it on demand over and over again, and refine that process over time. Facilitate critique and discussion from their colleagues and contemporaries, and refine their process over time and develop something that we refer to as our style, right? So these are the kinds of things that I want you to think about over the course of the semester as I introduce you to each new topic, and see if you can't sort of figure out how that topic then clicks into place and contributes to this broader conversation, and how that topic's going to work best for you when we talk about lenses and filters, and monitors, and so forth. How's all this going to help you in the manufacture and creation of your images moving forward? Okay. I think that's really all that I need to talk to you guys about today. And this is about right. I think about an hour and 15, hour and 30 minutes is, I think that's a good conversation. I think now if you're to take what we talked about today and the things that I showed you today and just sort of go back into Webcourses at your leisure, open up Webcourses and just take a look around, see how it's laid out, see what's in store for you. And then, make ready each time we're going to meet. Now, for instance, we'll talk again on Thursday. I'm going to talk to you about the camera department, and we'll talk to you about a camera department on a feature film, for instance. Who's in it? What are they doing? Who's in charge? What are the job responsibilities? What are the positions called? And then I'll talk to you a little bit about recording media. And I think that's going to be sort of the most important point from Thursday's conversation. How do you know what media cards to use? How do you know how long you can record high quality images on a media card, for instance? And I can show you how to calculate that. It's pretty easy, actually. So check out Webcourses and come to the live session on Thursday if you can schedule the time, and let's talk about those topics, and make sure that everybody's comfortable with that information moving forward, and that it becomes a usable part of your repertoire moving forward. Okay. Most important thing that this class can do for you is give you actionable intelligence moving forward. Tips, tricks, techniques, and an understanding of cinematic, creative imagery that you can utilize in all of the departments and all of the projects and all of the classes that you take moving forward. Okay. Hopefully you'll see how cinematography sort of clicks in with a lot of different things going on in places like a film program. Okay. Does anybody have any thoughts or questions or comments on any of that? This is really kind of a cursory conversation, so I'm not trying to get too deep into anything just yet. But does anybody have anything to add or any questions at this point for me? Are we good then? Okay. So like I said, about an hour and a half is what I think would be an appropriate amount of time to spend on these Zoom meetups, right? Don't forget to look at the full lecture. Give me a couple sentences. What were the key points? What were the key takeaways from that video? And just put them in a text response in the video lecture assignment on Webcourses, and that'll be your attendance, contribute to your attendance grade, okay? Aside from that, I've given you my contact information. If you have any questions after the fact, feel free to shoot me an email and I'll address it as soon as I can. I know that, I'll just say this in parting, I know that the online Zoom format is not ideal, especially for a class where you may be dying to get your hands on some equipment and start playing around. It's not ideal. We'll do the best that we can. I'll try to present to you in a fashion where maybe I can show you some stuff at least on screen to get you started. I can also direct you towards the department resources that are available to you through our online portal at UCF and through room 157 in Nicholson, which is the equipment storage room where you can go and rent cameras and equipment for your assignments. And just sort of encourage you to use that resource in lieu of whatever face-to-face benefit you might have had in this class in a campus situation. It's not ideal being online, but we'll do the best we can, and keep the lines of communication open. Okay, don't be afraid to ask questions. Reach out as soon as you can if you have a question or if you have an issue that needs to be solved. Let's not wait around because we're in a compressed time frame here for summer A. We only got 6 weeks to get through a lot of stuff. So just keep the lines of communication open. I'll be available to you as often as possible to help you sort things out. Okay. So I'll ask one more time if anybody's got any questions for me. Otherwise, we can look to adjourn for this afternoon, and then I'll look forward to talking to you again on Thursday. Is there anything I can address at this point in time before we adjourn? Everybody good? Okay, then I thank you very much for your time and attention. And I'll look forward to meeting you guys again on Thursday. In the meantime, open up Webcourses, check it out. Don't forget to do your financial aid assignment, and come bearing questions on Thursday, okay? All right, folks, have a good afternoon, and I look forward to seeing you all again real soon, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.